All right, it's August, August 3rd, babe?
Yep.
It's August the 3rd, Wednesday. My baby and I are walking the dogs. We always walk the dogs once a day, and we thought we'd make a video and title it Unintended Consequences. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but I think just a few years ago, I forget exactly when it was, but the government passed a law that it's completely legal for the government to lie to the American people in order to push a particular agenda. Do you remember that, babe?
Oh yeah, I just saw that. That was Naomi Wolf. She was explaining that in a video that you can see on YouTube.
So they've made it legal for the government to lie to the American people in order to push a particular government agenda, right? And so that becomes propaganda. And
that's exactly what they did with 9/11, so that they could go to war with Iraq, who had nothing to do with the Twin Towers. So
right.
They could take over the oil.
That's right. So 9/11 was one example. Of course, Operation Northwoods. We know an old man named Parmenio Iglesias. I believe he's like 79 years old. 1962, they asked him to kill American sailors. He was enlisted in the military from Cuba. He was a legal immigrant, and America wanted to start a war with Cuba. And so they asked Parmenio to go kill some American sailors so they could blame it on Cuban dissidents. But anyway, Operation Northwoods, Sandy Hook, Oklahoma City, the list goes on and on. So the unintended consequences of having a government that actually promotes lying is that you end up with a Department of Justice with people like Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, Karen Loeffler, and they promote United States prosecutors that are very, very good at lying. So you lose your entire moral fabric of justice in society because you're actually rewarding those and promoting the best liars. And so the people that rise to the top of our government are the best liars, the best deceivers, those who are the most corrupt.
Retired judges that can't be impeached.
Right, retired judges that cannot be impeached. And the unintended consequences that people may think, well, we're just doing this, but there's for a good reason. You know, we've got to accept homosexuals in our society, and we've got to do something about global warming, and we've got to do something about, this Middle Eastern problem. And so while the people that are involved in this may be convinced, or Sandy Hook, so the people that are involved in Sandy Hook, we've got to do something about the guns in America. We've got to get rid of the guns because we want a peaceful nation. Whether it's solving the gun problem or solving global warming, all of the people that are involved, they're not really doing it for, what they consider...
and the Boston bombing, too.
The Boston bombing is another example. They may be thinking that they're doing this for the good of the American people, but at the same time, they're being rewarded handsomely. They're being paid...
They're not.
They're being paid large amounts of money. And ultimately, that's why they're doing it. They're not doing it... There's a word that I'm thinking of, babe, when you do something and you don't expect anything in return. I forget. It's the name of a society that's... Anyway, there's a fancy word that people use when people do something but they don't expect anything in return. That's not why these people participate in these government false flags. They do it because they're being paid handsomely. They're probably being paid hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. They paid the government informant that set up Schaefer Cox. They not only put aside his life sentence for his own crimes, but they paid him...
That's priceless.
$300,000. So not only did he recover his own life for ratting out Schaefer, but he got paid a lot of money. And because they have the Federal Reserve, that's how come they can get away with all these evil deeds. And they just have an unlimited money supply to pay all these evil people. I once heard from a trusted source, so you guys will have to research this and see if it's true, that there's over 26,000 paid government informants just in the United States of America working for the FBI, CIA, and
producing nothing.
They produce no good for society. They think good American citizens. They're just simply paid snitches for the Obama administration to rat out those who stand for liberty. And so it makes the American people... I can't even begin to tell you the amount of people that want to stand up for Schaefer, and they say they know he's innocent. They feel very bad about what's happened to him. But if I had a nickel for every time somebody said, well, don't associate my name with that, and I want to donate some money, but I'm afraid to go to that fundraiser.com website and put my name on it. And I understand where people are coming from. Some of these people are single women. They're elderly.
Little kids.
They have little kids. So I don't want to get on their case too bad. I kind of understand to some degree. But isn't that horrific that we live in a society where men and women know that we have an innocent man in jail or we have an innocent man in prison, but they're too scared of our tyrannical government to stand up and to say anything or to support him financially or have their name be associated with Schaefer. It's horrific that we live in an environment like that.
Or that they're doing secret court in the Bundy situation.
Right. Did you guys hear about that? My wife told me that the Bundy situation with Pete Santilli in Oregon, that they're going to have a secret court. They're not going to open it up to the public. What about a public hearing where everything is done in the open? It's horrific that we have that going on in America. It's horrific that we have a CMU political prisoner, political prison, one in Terre Haute, Indiana, and one in Marion, Illinois. It's horrific that we torture American citizens in our country. So, in any event, the unintended consequences that's going on in our society with government-sponsored news, like CNN, foreign interest paying for our news agencies, the Federal Reserve that's influencing our education and promoting lies like evolution. We are a corrupt nation to its core. And there's very few people left that have the faith or the courage or the resources to stand up and to say something about it. But Jesus Christ tells us to do that regardless of the consequences. And, I'm not going to, everybody has to make that decision for themselves. But my wife and I, we've made our decision. We're going to say the truth no matter what the consequences. And we're not going to be scared of these evil bastards. And people need to realize what's going on and how bad it is and to speak up. We could easily get rid of these guys if American people would wake up to what's going on. But it just doesn't appear to be happening fast enough, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try anyway. How many people won the American Revolution, babe? Like 3%? Mm-hmm. It didn't take a whole lot of people. It just took a very vocal, very, very vocal minority and committed. You know, the saying, we love liberty more than they hate it. Yeah. So we're going to win.
Yeah, and there's two books I like to recommend. One is for homeschooling parents. It's a 4-set series about freedom, money. I think it's based on The Creature from Jekyll Island, the law, and it's called The Turtle Brothers. And maybe I'll find the link to put in the comment section. The other one is, I think, called The Hegemon. It was a guest who was on Joyce Riley's show today, and he really explains what's going on with all these wars and how it's really all about the oil and it's not about the lies of 9/11.
Amen. You know, there's a book out there called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. It talks about American foreign policy and how evil it is, and how we have gone against George Washington's advice of entangling ourselves in all these alliances. And we need to take care of ourselves. You know, America's got major problems, and our own apple core is rotten. We have no business, trying to fix the rest of the world until we get our own country fixed. And even if we do get our own country fixed, we can shine a light for the rest of the world. We don't have to go in and assassinate leaders, set up our own puppet leaders, and supply arms to our enemies, right? And we need to get back to our biblical foundation. But in any event, in closing, I want to leave you with a thought, and I'm going to say this until my dying breath, that the evil prosecutors, Department of Justice folks, Karen Loeffler, Obama, Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, Yvonne Lamoureux, Stephen E. Scrocky, who's that other person? Joseph W. Bottini, Wendy Williams, the Judge Robert J. Bryan. You guys are evil. What you guys did to Schaefer are evil. You guys may go to sleep every night in a big house. You may drive a fancy car. You may get a big promotion at work. Loretta Lynch may be ensuring that you're top of the pay chain at the Department of Justice, but you guys are evil. The Lord's justice is coming. And Schaefer may wake up in prison every single day. He goes to sleep in prison every single day. He hasn't seen his children in 6 years. But let me tell you something. When God's justice comes to each and every one of you, I'll be yelling vengeance, vengeance, vengeance. Okay, and in regards to unintended consequences of a government that promotes lies and corruption, my babe wants to give her thoughts on unintended consequences to the men and women of our military.
Yeah, I don't know how many of you know this, but there's 22 veterans committing suicide every single day. That's almost one every hour. And that's not natural. And I don't know if it's because they're waking up to the lies that they've been told, and they went and left their own families to go kill little families and millions of people abroad, or if it's because they were force vaccinated with some God knows what.
SSRI.
Something that would make them want to kill themselves when they got home. I know the government doesn't want them to be armed because they know how to use arms, and they've been trained to kill. So I can see why the government would want them dead, because they're behaving so badly in the government, and these soldiers find no better option than to take their own lives, which leaves their whole families devastated. It's disgusting.